It is January 2nd, so day 2 of those New Year resolutions, and one popular one is to stay away from alcohol.
Yeah, so popular. So many people are talking about this, also known as dry January. That's maybe what you've heard it referred to as. Millions of people will try to avoid adult beverages this month, all month long, and we know staying on track with that for some is a challenge.
Yeah.
It's tough. In fact, according to one survey, they said about 41% of adults in the U.S. tried to take on dry January, at least part of it, and say, you know what, I'm going to abstain from this. But by the end of the month, only 16% of them actually managed to abstain from alcohol the whole time. So how do you get yourself into that 16% that make it to the end and say, okay, I did it. I made it. We brought in a psychotherapist to help you. Kelley Kitley sharing some advice for us. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So this is really important. I see it in my practice where people set themselves up to have success in the new year to eliminate alcohol. There are so many positive benefits. They report sleeping better, having more clarity, losing weight is another one. But what oftentimes throws people off is the lack of support or accountability. So I really suggest to my clients to go into dry January with a friend or a family member who have like-minded viewpoints about whole health.
I love that. Accountability is so important, no matter what you're doing. I know for me, going into the gym is tough, so I love if I can have someone go with me.
Push you to go,
it really helps.
Yes, that is important. And the next tip you have for people is having a distraction?
Sure. So a replacement activity I think is really important. And so if we're just sitting around and saying, oh, I'm giving up alcohol all month, not really fun. So being able to have a partner to go to the gym with, get out and go for a walk, try a cooking class. I think oftentimes behavior changes can be so difficult. And so replacing that with something else that does keep your mind off of, oh gosh, it would be so nice to have that habitual glass of wine after work.
Exactly. All right, speaking of replacing with something else, for those that may be going through the month and they're missing their favorite cocktail, they're missing their favorite beverage, what can they do to maybe satisfy the cravings a little bit?
Well, I am a non-drinker, and last night I was out for dinner and had a mango jalapeno virgin margarita. And it was so delicious. Yes. And there are so many types of non-alcoholic beers as well. And so sometimes it is just about the ritual of holding something and sipping something. We want to have something that's refreshing and also be able to participate in social situations.
Yeah, it is very social to still have that. And we were talking about this yesterday. Every time I go to a restaurant, they now have another option. They have a mocktail section, or what do they call it? The like non-elixir section. So it's just fun.
You know, people are becoming sober curious, and in such an alcohol-saturated world that we live in, I'm so happy to see that there are other options out there.
Yeah, me too.
That's a really good point, because my husband and I, we don't drink either. But every time we go to a restaurant, they're supposed to, do you want to drink? Do you need the drink? No, we're good. We're good. So I guess the big question is, what happens when you slip up? Then what do you do?
Thank you for saying that, because I think oftentimes people do have an all or nothing approach with anything that they are putting a goal in place, and when they do slip up, they beat themselves up, or they say, oh, I already screwed up, forget it. Be gentle with yourself. If you slip, start again the next day. And certainly if you don't want to participate in dry January, there's something called damp January. And the idea behind that is just being mindful about how much you're drinking and the impact it has on your whole health.
Good point.
There's so much more to talk about with this. We wish we had more time, but we appreciate you coming in. Kelley Kitley, psychotherapist, who's just here to give us these great tips. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.